Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another chapter of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's I Am That. And today we will be looking at chapter 42, Reality Cannot Be Expressed. Reality cannot be expressed. I have noticed a new self emerging in me, independent of the old self. They somehow coexist. The old self goes on its habitual ways. The new lets the old be, but does not identify itself with it. What is the main difference between the old self and the new? The old self wants everything defined and explained. It wants things to fit each other verbally. The new does not care for verbal explanations. It accepts things as they are. It does not seek to relate them to things remembered. Are you fully and constantly aware of the difference between the habitual and the spiritual? What is the attitude of the new self to the old? The new just looks at the old. It is neither friendly nor inimical. It just accepts the old self along with everything else. It does not deny its being, but does not accept its value and validity. The new is the total denial of the old. The permissive new is not really new. It is but a new attitude of the old. The really new obliterates the old completely. The two cannot be together. Is there a process of self-denudation, a constant refusal to accept the old ideas and values? Or is there just a mutual tolerance? What is their relation? There is no particular relation. They coexist. Sorry, my screen froze there for a minute. When you talk of the old self and new, whom do you have in mind? As there is continuity and memory between the two, each remembering the other, how can you speak of two selves? One is a slave to habits, the other is not. One conceptualizes, the other is free from all ideas. Why two selves? Between the bound and the free, there can be no relationship. The very fact of coexistence proves their basic unity. There is but one self. It is always now. What you call the other self, old or new, is but a modality, another aspect of the one self. The self is single. You are that self, and you have ideas of what you have been or will be. But an idea is not the self. Just now, as you are sitting in front of me, which self are you, the old or the new? The two are in conflict. How can there be conflict between what is and what is not? Conflict is the characteristic of the old. When the new emerges, the old is no longer. You cannot speak of the new and the conflict in the same breath. Even the effort of striving for the new self is of the old. Wherever there is conflict, effort, struggle, striving, longing for a change, the new is not. To what extent are you free from the habitual tendency to create and perpetuate conflicts? Wherever there is conflict, effort, struggle, striving, longing for change, the new is not. To what extent are you free from the habitual tendency to create and perpetuate conflicts? I cannot say that I am now a different man, but I did discover new things about myself, states so unlike what I knew before that I feel justified in calling them new. The old self is your own self, the state which sprouts suddenly and without cause carries no stain of self. You may call it God. What is seedless and rootless? What does not sprout and grow, flower and fruit? What comes into being suddenly and in full glory, mysteriously and marvelously, you may call that God. It is entirely unexpected, yet inevitable, infinitely familiar, yet most surprising, beyond all hope, yet absolutely certain. Because it is without cause, it is without hindrance. It obeys one law only, the law of freedom. Anything that implies a continuity, a sequence, a passing from stage to stage cannot be the real. There is no progress in reality. It is final, perfect, unrelated. Many good things in that paragraph. What is seedless and rootless, what does not sprout and grow, flower and fruit, what comes into being suddenly and in full glory, mysteriously and marvelously, you may call that God. It is entirely unexpected, yet inevitable, infinitely familiar, yet most surprising, beyond all hope, yet absolutely certain. Because it is without cause, it is without hindrance. It obeys one law only, the law of freedom. The law of freedom. Anything that implies a continuity, a sequence, a passing from one stage to stage cannot be the real. The real does not change. The real is changeless. There is no progress in reality. It is already absolute. It is final, perfect, unrelated. And then, of course, the mind says, how can I bring it about? How can I bring about reality? You can do nothing to bring it about, but you can avoid creating obstacles. Let's tell all those spiritual seekers, you can do nothing to bring it about, but you can avoid creating obstacles. Eckhart Tolle says, you can't force it to happen. You can't make it happen, but you can create the right conditions, which is what Nisargadatta is saying all the time. If you constantly have the I am as your focus, the awareness as your focus, the silence and the stillness and the love in your heart, and you're surrendering and feeling the presence and the aliveness. It's here, you sense it, you get a taste of it, and then you just melt. As Mooji says, it's like marinating. It's like an ice cube melting in warm water. Everything is water, returning to water. Just stop creating obstacles. Watch your mind, how it comes into being, how it operates. Become a master of the mind. Really learn it. Educate yourself about it. As you watch your mind, you discover yourself as the watcher. And there's the monkey mind. When you stand motionless, only watching, you discover yourself as the light behind the watcher. The source of light is dark. Unknown is the source of knowledge. That source alone is, the supreme is alone. Go back to that source. Go back and abide there. Stay there. It is not in the sky, nor in the all-pervading ether. God is all that is great and wonderful. I am nothing. I have nothing. I can do nothing. Yet all comes out of me. The source is me. The root, the origin is me. Not this me, not the little me, not the imagined me, the absolute supreme reality. Remember, Nisargadatta is the mouthpiece of the cosmic, of the divine, of the beloved. So when he refers to me, he's not talking about the little Indian man who used to sell cigarettes. He's talking about Parabrahman. He's speaking from that place. The source alone is, go back to that source, prior to all thoughts, prior to the words I am, prior to the sense I amness, prior to all words and concepts. Abide there, stay there, melt there. It is not in the sky. It's not way out there in the sky, not in some heavens above, nor in the all-pervading ether. In other words, stop looking outside of yourself and ask yourself, what is looking? Who am I? This watcher, this witness, what is prior to that watcher? The pure awareness, the pure light. And yet prior to the light, Nisargadatta says, the source of light is dark. It's unknown. Go back to that source and abide there. Silence, stillness. God is all that is great and wonderful in the manifest world, but I am nothing. I have nothing. I can do nothing. I can do nothing because I am not a doing. I am a being. The void isn't doing anything, and yet it is the source. All comes out of me, the void, the source, the root, the origin. When reality explodes in you, you may call it experience of God. Or rather, it is God experiencing you. God knows you when you know yourself. God knows you when you know yourself. When you realize God, you realize the self with a capital S. When you realize the capital S self, you realize God. Reality is not the result of a process. So very good. Reality is not the result of a process. If I do this and I do that, I do this, and I do that. It is an explosion. It is definitely beyond the mind. But all you can do is to know your mind well, not just a little bit. People say, yeah, I know my mind. Yeah, it's noisy, blah, blah, blah. No. Really spend time with your mind and your emotional heart. Spend time watching the mind and watching the heart. See what triggers you, your ego. Watch all of it and realize, don't worry, you are not your issues. You are not the mind. Don't be afraid to see all the muck and the guck and all the beautiful things in the mind as well. Watch the mind, watch the process, watch how it works. Not that the mind will help you, but by knowing your mind, you may avoid your mind disabling you, taking you out of the self in a sense. You have to be very alert, or else your mind will play false with you. It is like watching a thief. Not that you expect anything from a thief, but you do not want to be robbed. Very good. It is like watching a thief. Not that you expect anything from the thief, but you do not want to be robbed. So you are alert. You keep your eye on him. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. In the same way, you give a lot of attention to the mind without expecting anything from it. Don't, again, expect that the mind will really be able to tell you about reality. Reality is not something that you want to be told about. We've heard many examples of people talking about a piece of fruit, an apple, an orange, doesn't matter. And somebody can tell you about that fruit. You can read a whole book about that fruit. You can hold the fruit. You can hold it in your hand, smell it, look at the color, feel the texture, but you will never know the taste of that fruit until you take a bite out of it. Or take another example. We wake and we sleep. After a day's work, sleep comes. Now, do I go to sleep, or does inadvertence, characteristic of the sleeping state, come to me? In other words, we are awake because we are asleep. We do not wake up into a really waking state. In the waking state, the world emerges due to ignorance and takes one into a waking dream state. Both sleep and waking are misnomers. We are only dreaming. We are only dreaming. True waking and true sleeping, only the Jnani knows. We dream that we are awake. We dream that we are asleep. The three states are only varieties of the dream state. Treating everything as a dream liberates. Treating everything as a dream liberates. As long as you give reality to dreams, you are their slave. As long as you give reality to dreams, to that which is false, that which is transient and unreal, you are their slave. You get sucked into their storylines. By imagining that you are born as so-and-so, you become a slave to the so-and-so. The essence of slavery is to imagine yourself to be a process, to have a past and future, to have history. In fact, we have no history. We are not a process. We do not develop nor decay. Also, see all as a dream and stay out of it. See all as a dream and stay out of it. What benefit do I derive from listening to you? I am calling you back to yourself. Hello, Pada Brahmin, come back, come back. All I ask you is to look at yourself, towards yourself, into yourself. To what purpose? You live, you feel, you think. By giving attention to your living, feeling, and thinking, you free yourself from them and go beyond them. Your personality dissolves. Your ego dissolves. Your person dissolves. The imagined conceptual self dissolves, and only witness remains. Only awareness remains. Then you go beyond the witness, that which feels like personal still, and do not ask how it happens. It just does. Just search within yourself. It's a good chapter. I could keep reading and reading. Consciousness does not shine by itself. It shines by a light beyond it, the Supreme. Having seen the dreamlike quality of consciousness, look for the light in which it appears, which gives it being. There is the content of consciousness as well as the awareness of it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nisargadatta Maharaj. Listen to the words of Nisargadatta Maharaj. Remember them, ponder them, deeply contemplate them in your heart. And then wait. Don't wait for anything, but wait for the explosion. Maybe don't wait for any experience, because it's all now. It's all here. Even though he uses that word explosion, it could just be more like a just a stopping. Maybe you just wake up one morning and the imagined individual energetic contraction, maybe it's just not there anymore. Even now, is it there? If we don't really think about that ego, unperceived, It's not really there. This is just life happening, just a process of beingness. And yes, prior to the processes is that which has no process. That's what you truly are. The supreme, the absolute supreme reality, the Parabrahman. Abide there. Remain as pure being and pure awareness. Go back. Go back. Abide. I am. I am. Not I am this or I am that. Just pure I am. See you again for another chapter. Peace.